Hi everybody, my name's Holly. I'm a peer support practitioner here at Autism Oxford. I wanted to pop on and have a little chat about creating boundaries in your household. For me, I am the proud parent of a PDA teenager. He likes to push a boundary or two, which I'm sure my colleagues will confirm through stories and equally clients. You know, I'm happy to share my life experiences with everybody. I have heard countless times, you know, are you going to let him talk to you like that? Or you need to show him who's boss, or he just needs to hear the word no a bit more. So I wanted to kind of come on and just share some strategies that work in our house that really help establish a kind of better understanding of everybody's needs. So the first thing I always think about is choosing my words carefully. So for our household, no is a big trigger. It's the simplest of words that can cause the most catastrophic reaction. For him, that word no is a complete loss of autonomy, a complete loss of control. So before I say the word no, I think about more constructive ways to say the word no. So, you know, yeah, we can absolutely have a think about that in a little while, or, you know, something to delay the word no. Planning ahead. So where are we going? How long does it take to get there? What does it look like? Who's going to be there? All valid questions for a neurodivergent individual. Obviously, it's difficult for other people to understand, but that kind of reaction is an anxiety-driven behaviour. So it's important to manage expectations, give them time to mull it over. I often show photos of the destination, kind of discuss routes that we're taking if that's something that's particularly overwhelming for him at the time, and also discuss things that we might see on the way, how many times we're going to stop to use the bathroom or to get something to eat. Another thing that works really well in our house is reducing demands. So when you become aware quite of how many demands you're kind of creating in a day, even when it comes to getting ready for school, you know, quite often we think of getting ready for school as one action, when actually it's a lot of actions built into that. So it can be very, very overloading for you. So quite often we think it's one kind of job, when actually it's waking up, getting washed, brushing our teeth, eating breakfast, getting your bag ready, then putting your shoes on, coat if it's cold. And if it's anything like me, you know, quite often when he used to get out of the car, I used to say, have a good day, or be good. And that's already setting that expectation that I'm unsure whether that's going to happen. So it's another demand. The best tool I ever learned was to spread the demands out. So thinking about things that are really important to me and that, you know, I might need to ask him to do amongst the things that aren't so much. So thinking about scaffolding. So quite often I have amongst my own peers where they'll say, I can't believe you still lay his clothes out for him, or I can't believe you still make his breakfast. And for me, that it costs me nothing to do that as a parent, you know, and it takes away that anxiety of, where's my shirt? Where's my blazer? I can't find the right trousers. You know, these aren't the comfortable trousers that I like. What's for breakfast? You know, how long is it going to take to make? I don't know if I really want anything. So being able to do things for my son means that I am reducing that anxiety for him. And also thinking about, is there anything that we can prepare the evening before? So I've recently worked with a client who had a fantastic idea of, before they went to bed, asking their young person how they wanted to get ready in the morning. So do they want to be woken up? Would they like to make their own breakfast? And obviously that's interchangeable, you know, it's not something that's static, but again, giving that control back to your young person to say, how would you like to do it? Let's think about a more constructive way of how you'd like to do it. We've all heard the phrase, pick your battles, some more than others, granted, but what does it really mean? Thinking about weighing up what matters more to you. So for us in our household, picking our battles, so we pick our battles mainly around things that are safety related. Things like I like him to eat 2 meals a day, and I like him to tell me where he's going, because that for me it's paramount for me as a parent. So is cleaning your teeth more important, or leaving the house in a calmer manner? You know, sometimes weighing those up is really helpful. Obviously, in an ideal world, as a parent, you want both. But sometimes if you don't have that choice, then think about what's more important. Drop teeth brushing was a kind of suggestion for me, for my son, and I'm absolutely not advocating that, but you're more likely to be able to leave the house on time, and everybody transitions into their next setting slightly more settled, and slightly more regulated, you know, and sometimes that's what's far more important than brushing their teeth at that particular time in the morning. It might be a choice between, does your child sit and eat their meal with you in the evening, or do they take their meal to their bedroom? You know, of course, in a beautiful world, you know, we all sit and eat dinner together without any devices and without any distractions, and we all talk about what a lovely day we've had, but actually we all know that isn't something that happens on a day-to-day basis. So I quite often will substitute that, because that's a need for me, or a want necessarily, and I substitute it with the fact that, okay, well, I'll provide him with a nutritious meal and he can eat that wherever he chooses fit. And on occasion, he absolutely will sit with us. And if the time is right, we can have a conversation. But being able to recognise when your child is overwhelmed or overstimulated and giving them that choice is really helpful as well. No coats in winter. So I don't know if anybody else's children are the same. For my son, in the height of summer, he will leave the house in a full tracksuit with his hood up, and I watch him leave and think, oh my God, he must be so hot. But that's me transferring my feelings onto him. So often leaving him for those kind of natural consequences to do their thing. So quite often he'll leave the house and he'll come back 10 minutes later and he'll go, oh, it's really hot, I need to get changed. And that's for him to decide. Equally in winter, he doesn't like that feeling of kind of being overloaded with coats and zips and so on and so forth. So he will often leave the house without a coat, and quite often I will get a phone call a couple of hours later asking me to take his coat to school. But again, ideally I'd like him to leave the house with his coat in the morning, but sometimes we have to be there to scaffold that in the afternoons. These are obviously quite individual to my family and the way things work, but I often say to my clients, before you get into a battle of wills, before you lock heads, before you butt heads and lock antlers, does it really matter? You know, in the grand scheme of things, is it going to cost them safety? Is it going to cost, extreme unwellness? And what's the worst thing that's going to happen? You know, as much as it's something that I really want to happen, if it doesn't happen, it is, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? And often thinking as well, before I have that conversation with my young person, am I going to escalate this problem, or am I going to de-escalate the problem? And sometimes just that thought process can really help.